So in 2012, I started doing the work that I now do today as a limitless woman. And what I can tell you is that there was two questions I kept being asked all the time. The first question was, how do you do it? And that's kind of a strange question, isn't it? Like, what is it? But people were really wanting to know how I had built several businesses while being a mother, while being a wife, while being a volunteer, and they were trying to figure out the how. The next question was, where's your book? And I was like, what book? But they kept asking and they kept asking. I can tell you that today, after 30 years of entrepreneurship, I've learned to listen to the questions. So I started going on a journey of discovery of what is it that had taken me from a place of struggling and violence and abuse and anorexia and suffering, and moved me to a place of freedom and thriving and really feeling blessed in my life. So I started doing my homework and I started looking at what were those distinctions, what were the catalysts that had the shift happen for me? And was there something about that was happening for other people? So in my book, Stop the Spinning, Move from Surviving to Thriving, what I uncovered is that there were 3 Ds that I saw again and again and again in people's stories. The first D was death. Not a happy thing to share with you. But you know and I know, if you've ever really lost somebody that you love and that you care about, one of 2 things usually happens. You either have this feeling of regret and sadness that you won't be with that person anymore, or you have a celebration of the time you had together. But either way, it makes you think. Would you agree? Okay. The next one is divorce. Now, I don't have much time to sit up here and talk about my divorce in 1998, but I can tell you this, anyone who's been through a serious breakup, be it with a life partner, be it with a business partner, be it with a friend, there's a place there that just has you ache. And it's a catalyst, right? It starts to have you think differently. The third D is disease. Either your body says, we're not gonna do this anymore. Some of you are shaking your head, you've been there. Or you have a beloved who gets diagnosed and they say, guess what? Your normal is not your normal anymore. In 2020, we as a species had an opportunity to collectively be catalyzed by a disease that none of us saw coming. And we collectively, as humanity, had an opportunity to create a new normal. So I've been in the inquiry, right? As I'm recording this and talking to you guys, as 2021, we've lost over 4 million people in the world to COVID-19. In the United States, those numbers are over 600,000. What can we learn from this? What I looked at in coming to talk to you tonight is this. What, as a business person, as a leader, and as a person who's out in the world to make a difference with my work, how can I do better? How can I use this opportunity to think differently and create a new normal, not only for myself, but for my friends and my community and the people that I'm here to serve? And I came up with 3 R's, because I like things in 3s, it makes it easy to remember, right? So I will say this, I started researching, that's not one of the R's, by the way, but I started researching and talking to my girlfriends and talking to my peers and talking to the women that I love and respect, who I get to work with each day in Limitless Women. And we're not the FedExes. We're not the Amazons. We're small businesses. A lot of our women are solopreneurs. Some of them have teams. You know, we cap out at about 10 million, which is a lot of money, but a lot of us are in much smaller numbers. But here's the thing I'll tell you, whether we're emerging or we're at the $10 million mark, we're still playing the same game. And we're still sharing the same takeaways. So the first thing that I heard again and again in these conversations was, there was all this language about pivot. Did anybody hear pivot, right? I was like, ugh, that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear renew. I wanted to hear go deeper. I wanted to hear recommit to what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the women that I saw whose businesses grew over the last couple of years, because there was the pre-COVID, there was the during the COVID, we're in the COVID, we don't know when we're out of COVID, okay? But the reality is that some businesses are thriving. They're no longer struggling, they're really growing. And what I saw was this commitment made a difference. Instead of breaking up because it was hard with their business, they decided to renew their vows. And I think there's something in that for all of us. The second thing I kept hearing over and over again was reevaluating, not changing, but reevaluating. What's your mission? What's your vision? A lot of us, when we're home and locked up, said, okay, I've got all this space and time. I'm not traveling. I'm not busy. What is it that I really want? So I think that there's a tentative business of reevaluating again and again that keeps us current and relevant, combined with what we know is tried and true. Okay? The final R is to remember. Every one of you has a God-given gift and a very special, unique experience that's brought you to this point right now. Remember who you are. Don't be distracted. Don't get pulled aside by what's going on out there. Remember what's in here. When you learn to walk in faith and trust your intuition and go with the guidance that you've been gifted with, you really can change the world.